And welcome everybody to the Eagles tribute band reformed. Take it to the limit one more time because we are at Austin. Austin, no, we're not at Austin. Surely we're not at Austin. Fabio, what are you saying, Fabio? I can see, yeah. You're embarrassed. I can see, yeah. Austria. We're at Austria. That's where we are for the 2023 Formula One World Championship from the Red Bull Ring, or as I like to call it now, the Red Bull Oval, because it may as well be, right, for all the thrilling racing that we're getting there with these cars. Anyway, here we are. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. He's back. Okay.
I think I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. You're definitely here. I can see you and everything. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome, as I'm joined as always by the fantastic Italian expert, who's muted, by the way. I'll unmute you. Don't worry. There we go. It's probably me that did it. Fabio.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, Fabio.
Hello.
Welcome. And also, I'm joined by the amazing, the very northern, very Scottish, Lucky Seven Wolfen. Welcome, Lucky.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Okay, look, we're going to get straight on with it because actually there isn't. I mean, we're going to be done in 10 minutes, I should think, because it's going to be
Can I very quickly say that I have no clue what's going on before we start? I hope that's all right.
I could tell by your comments in the side chat, actually.
Right. Okay.
Okay, there we go. No, I don't know what's going on either, but don't worry about it because everything will be explained on this week's episode of the 2023 Fabio and Funk commentary. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to do the race review quickly. There was a sprint race. Not much happened. Perez almost killed Verstappen. Apart from that, very little else happened. And then we got on to Sunday's race, which was, of course, a thriller from Manila. If we were in Manila and it was a thriller, it would be the thriller in Manila. But it wasn't because we got away and qualifying was quite interesting. Ferraris did really well. Obviously, their updates is done some good, at least for them in a straight line. But still nothing on a patch on the Red Bulls. So Verstappen got away first. And then it was Leclerc in second, challenging him hard for 2 corners. And then 3 corners, possibly 4. And then Sainz, Hamilton, Norris doing well to get up there. Then Russell and a whole gaggle of others who I couldn't really tell. But nonetheless, there was that. So, yeah, with the Ferrari in the slipstream, Leclerc managed to get very close to the outside of Verstappen. Unfortunately, although he played it well, he was unable to get past, kept getting squeezed to the outside. And then, of course, Verstappen's car being extremely wide and very difficult to get around. Although Verstappen didn't use any obtruse tactics like he did on Perez the day before, it unfortunately left Leclerc in a position where he found it difficult to keep alongside him, and in fact that dropped him back a little bit as well. So he then also had some problems with Sainz, and once the Ferraris tripped over each other, Verstappen was a gone. And so that was basically, that was the race actually, because other than a few, it's a minor few violations of track limits, which just a couple of people suffered from. It finished, the race pretty much finished in the same order as it started, which was, of course, Verstappen first with the fastest lap, who did the fastest lap on the last lap, as always, having enough time to come in, pit, put soft tyres on, go out and get it, taking it away from his teammate again, as if the Red Bulls weren't fast enough. Leclerc in second place, Sainz in third place, unfortunately penalised after the race. Hamilton in fourth place, unfortunately penalised after the race. Norris did well, Alonso did well, Stroll did well. Gasly finished a very fantastic eighth, although penalised after the race. And who else have we got here? And then Albon did really, really well, penalised after the race. Russell, yeah, good job, not penalised after the race. Ocon penalised after the race. Piastri, terrible race. Sargent, a good race for Sargent for a change. So we'll have a lot to talk about there, I should think. And if I can just wait for my there it is. It just has refreshed. Thank you so much. Let me just get down to there. There it is. Yeah. So the final order after they all finished out was, of course, Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez in third place, disappointing. Lando Norris, fourth place, great. Fernando Alonso, great. Carlos Sainz, after being penalised, in sixth. George Russell, seventh. Lewis Hamilton, eighth, after penalised. Lance Stroll, ninth, after penalised. Pierre Gasly, penalised. Alex Albon, penalised. John Zhao Zhu Zhao Wang Chuan Zhu Zhan John Boy, penalised. Logan Sargent. I don't know whether he was penalised. I don't think he was. Was he penalised? I don't think
Yeah,
he
he was. He
He went.
was.
Well, he got close enough to the edge of the track. Okay, to get penalised. Good on the lad.
How dare you say such a thing about Logan?
Sargent,
Sargent.
Esteban
Sargent.
Ocon. Dear, penalised. Valtteri Bottas, slow as shit. Piastri penalised. Nick DeVries penalised a lot. Kevin Magnussen, didn't he blow up? No, it was
No, that
Hulkenberg
was
that blew up. Magnussen penalised. Yuki Tsunoda penalised a lot, not just for track limits this time. He also got penalised for being Japanese.
Yeah.
And Nico Hulkenberg blew up his car. And that was the race. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Oh, no, we'll talk about it a bit. Over to you, Fabio, for your dissection of my wicked commentary.
Yeah. I mean, the race wasn't that bad. I mean, all things considered, given the fact that they were racing where they were racing and the condition that the championship is this year. I mean, I couldn't really complain. Red Bull is still miles ahead, and it. I don't think it didn't really show in the race. What really impressed me was the sprint race on Saturday, 24 laps, and Verstappen got ahead of 21 seconds. Just wrap your head around it. 24 laps, he won with 21 seconds. So that's the strength of the Red Bull right now. I mean, it's been the strength of the whole year so far. Perez, I think that it wasn't just Helmut Marko, but also Christian Horner. Which was quite a surprise because it's not usually the guy which talks about his drivers in a I'm gonna say not in a bad way, but in a critic way. But I mean, Perez got, I think he got some, Mexican jalapeno up his ass, and yet to deliver, because there was a lot of pressure on the guy. He tried to, at least. What else? I mean, the race was okay. The only thing a little bit surprising was the fact that uh, Leclerc didn't pit with the first safety car. It actually turned out to be a good choice or whatever. Ferrari made a good step ahead. It seems to be that some things they brought in, they kind of worked. At least now it's not the fourth uh, p- power in on the grid. They were faster than the Aston, faster than the Mercedes, and so yeah. I mean, good progress. Still, Red Bull is way ahead. Um, Other than that, I don't know. I mean, there was this whole thing about the track limits, which is really weird. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to talk about it a bit, because everybody blamed the motorcycles actually, and it. I think it's a that is it's an easy thing to blame, but it's not true at all. And I mean, I can explain it
Not.
later if you want.
I just want to interrupt for a second to say welcome, Bob Elvis.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here for 20 minutes.
Hmm.
That's probably as long as you need to know that track limits. So there you go. We've just covered
Yeah.
everything you needed to know. Okay,
Yeah.
carry on.
So yeah, I mean, other than that, I think there were only two drivers which were penalized during the race. I think one was Leclerc, and I can't remember the second one, but there were only two of them. And I mean, they tried everything in Red Bull in recent years. They tried, ballers. They tried, to put everything, but it doesn't work. It's the way that the track is done and the way that the layout is done and what they did on the outside. And again, everybody blame the motorcycles and say, "Oh, they won that." That is absolutely not true. And actually, again, if you want to talk about it a little bit more, I can explain a little bit how that problem is solved in the motorcycle races rather than in F1. It seems to be they can find a way, to figure that out. But yeah, I mean, not a stupid, silly race. It was, just what we think it would have happened in that weird track. It's a 1 minute something something track. It's really short. It's more like a kart circuit. The other thing I can agree with, something that Alonso said at the end of the race. He said, that people have got to cool down, because it seems to me, and he's right in that point, that after every race, it seems to be that everybody is saying, "Oh yeah, now this is working, this is not working, this is working, this is not working." It's like a football match. If you score 3 points, you're gonna win the championship. But there is another race, and we're gonna see what happens. Next one is gonna be Silverstone again. Very different track. We'll see what happens there. It's uh, it's a little bit early for me to say. I mean, we can say that some of the improvements they work. Ferrari put some really good stuff on it. McLaren too, compared to where they were. But I mean, this year every track is really different, and there is a weird mix of tracks going on right now. So it's really, really, really difficult to see what works and what doesn't right now. But yeah, I mean, it's good progress by some teams,
Okay, thank
and
you.
yeah, that's all.
Now, over to you, Lucky. What did you find?
Uh,
And do you think we can solve the problem of track limits? Maybe banana peels, as Bob is saying. Who knows?
well, there might be a fruit-based solution. I'm not sure. We'll have to talk about that.
For the ladies.
Stop fucking heckling me. We better start, of course, with my main man, Logan Sargent, and his escapades this weekend. Qualified 16th, believe it or not. Finished the sprint race in 18th, and managed to reach the giddying heights of 13th at the end of the feature race. So, all in all, probably the best weekend that Mr. Sargent has had this year in his debut year in Formula One. The track limits thing. Go and look at the GT3 races at Red Bull Ring, and you'll see exactly the same thing happening. Look at the other Formula cars, you'll see exactly the same thing happening. It's something to do with the track. And even in the sim racing, it's a horrendous track for getting track limit penalties. I don't know what it is, but it's just the way the track is. It's not MB's fault. It's just how it is. Else can we talk about? Again, the penalty system, barring the track limits penalties, is just all over the fucking place again. We had Perez basically deliberately trying to take out Verstappen. Did he get any unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for that? No. And then later on, Nick de Vries, who was taking his line round the corner, I can't remember who he put up, who went off beside him. He got a 10-second penalty for it. So you can do something deliberately, and it's not unsporting-like conduct. You can do it part of the race, and you'll get a penalty. It's turning farcical, if you ask me. It was another Verstappen show. Red Bull ruled the Red Bull Ring, didn't they? And what else can you say? That's about it. Oh, I'll tell you what I was going to say. McLaren looked pretty sweet this weekend. Maybe just to try, I don't know. One last thing. Lewis Hamilton's a whiny fuck. And he whined all weekend. Listen to the team radio. It got to the point where Toto Wolff kind of stepped in and said, enough's enough. So there you go. That's the Austrian Grand Prix from the Red Bull Ring.
Thank you so much. Very, very much. Yes, as far as the Lewis Hamilton, took me back. Nostalgia. I felt so nostalgic when I heard Lewis Hamilton whinging. But there you go. Okay, so we blame the motorcycles. And that's an interesting way to say it. Because, of course, we all know Formula One is blameless in all things because they are the peak of technology and motorsport racing in the world. So how can it be somebody else's fault? How can it be somebody else's fault?
So the rationale. Okay, so let me take a step back before answering to that question. I think it was, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before that. They had, actually it was 2 or 3 years ago, they had a massive accident in Red Bull with the motorcycles. I think Valentino Rossi almost died because the motorcycle just flew in front of him by inches. So the track is weird, okay, to put it in a mild way. So we have a problem with the track. All the talking about the motorcycle, it's basically based on the fact that what people say is that in order for you to race motorcycles, you don't want gravel on the outside, but you want like an escape route, with cement and all that stuff. That is not true. I mean, it's not the problem with motorcycles. Actually, the best motorcycle tracks, they have gravel on the outside. Grant you don't have, the end of the track and then the grass, because that is really dangerous. But you have a small, like a small piece of tarmac, which is usually penalized in MotoGP and motorcycle races with a very smart system. and that nobody has thought about before, and I'll be read that in a second. And then they have gravel. You've got to have well, I wouldn't say special kind of gravel, but the gravel must not be really big, because then it gets dangerous. No, there's not big pebbles. No, there is a size that you want to put there. But again, motorcycles, they actually require gravel, because if you slid down and you have nothing but tarmac at the outside of the track, you basically can't stop, and
You
it
just keep
gets
fighting.
really, really super dangerous. The method that they use in MotoGP for track limits, it's very, very, very simple. You usually have some leeway outside the track, and some areas are colored in a different way. And the way that they manage to determine if somebody goes out the track is a pipe. Is a pipe filled with air, and when you go over that, there is a difference in pressure, and it just flips and says, "Oh, that guy, just passed through that." That is mental, It's so easy that it looks stupid, but it works. There is also another way. The track limits are implemented in a different way in MotoGP. You got free warnings, and after free warnings, they tell you got a warning, and then you can do, I think, one or two more times, and then you get penalized. You don't get penalized with seconds, but you usually there is a part of the track with the it's modified, so the corner is longer. There is a special route that you got to take, and you just drive through that. Usually, depending on the circuit, but you lose about 3 to 4 seconds, and then you're back in the race, and that's it, and everything is pulled down. So if F1 wants really to blame somebody, they got to blame themselves, because the method they put on, especially at the Red Bull ring, doesn't work. And the fact that I think they waited 2 hours after the race was over to figure out who really got out of what not, and it was because of the Aston Martin protesting. So they have to watch the whole race back again, see all the data, and then issue those track limits, seconds of penalization, which was it was really ridiculous. But again, it's not a problem of the motorcycles. It's mostly a problem of the track, especially in Red Bull, and the way it's implemented in F1.
I see. I was confused when they said it was it was the problem of the motorcycles, because I didn't see anybody riding a motorcycle out there. I'll be honest with you. I would be more entertaining if we did, because
Yeah.
at least there'd be something decent on the track to watch. But lucky.
Well, I mean, you haven't seen them,
Well,
because
I did. Yes,
the real men were actually driving closer to you in Donington.
I did. I watched Donington.
Yeah.
Yes, where
Yeah.
there's a lot of grass on the outside of the track.
There is a lot of grass, and actually,
And
Tom Sykes he broke 10
Mm.
ribs in the crash that he had.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
again, we're talking about men's again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just check out the comments here. Most constructive led, Ascari 304. Most consecutive laps led, 304 for Ascari, 264 for Senna,
Yes.
248 for Verstappen. They
Yes.
don't count the sprint races, I guess.
No, they count all of them. Actually, I'm glad Babelvis put up that thing, because that was something I wanted to say. The real good thing about Leclerc being ahead in the race was the fact that Verstappen didn't beat Ascari's record. That was really good for me. So yay, fuck it, of most consecutive lap in front. So yeah, that was good.
I wonder if he knew that.
I don't know, but
I
yeah,
tell you,
fuck this
for
guy.
one more fastest lap, I would have been pissed. I would have been absolutely pissed, because the record of getting most consecutive laps led is not something that's going to be broken in a hurry. So
Yeah.
you know, I'd be
Well, to
real pissed if I
beat
was
somebody like
Verstappen.
Ascari or Senna is a milestone in itself. Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was easily going to beat the Ascari one
Ascari,
because, yeah.
304 laps.
Oh yeah, I mean he
Pushing ahead.
got 200, 248, and I think that the safety car deployed at what, lap 12 or whatever out of
Oh,
70
I see.
laps.
Yeah, I see. Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
He would have got
I
another
mean, it could.
70 on top. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. What a
So
mistake to make.
good job by Leclerc. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but fuck it, I was happy.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Lucky. Track limits. Do you think it was your fault with the motorcycles?
No, not at all. Not at all. As I've said, if you look back at GT3 racing there, the Formula cars there, it's always been a place where people go over track limits. It's just the nature of the track. It's the last and the first corner are the two to blame. I don't think you'll find there's any penalties apart from the first and the last corner. I might be wrong, but those are the ones. And like I said, even in the sim racing, it's a nightmare of a track to avoid track limit penalties. So I don't think it's MB's fault. It's just the nature of the track, as Fabio said.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, right? Because of course, there used to be a system where this was done on a track by track basis, and we'd just like keep a blind eye to turn 10 because it was always it always causes a problem, right? Either cars are washing out wide or it's in the rain and they go wide. And of course, you know, in previous years, they've tried building up curbs as a deterrent. And that, of course, has worked, right? Because the cars will literally break themselves if they go
Yeah, they
over
would
there.
destroy the cars. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why
But
they tend
and
to
that
pull away.
worked. I think that
Yeah.
we will all agree that worked to keep them
nah,
within.
I'm not convinced
Yeah,
those.
but now they have sensors and all that shit. Actually, there was a funny thing that happened at the
Well,
end of the
obviously
race.
not enough.
There was a guy from Sky TV Italy that he wanted to go at turn 9 and 10 to see where the sensors were. And the people on the track said, no, we can't allow you to go there because, we're working on the track, so we're not allowing to go there. Which, I mean, yeah, so it was super fishy, was really strange. And again, the fact that they can't
Yeah.
find a way. I mean, okay, I will grant you, a MotoGP is easier because they only got two wheels, So I mean, the system with the pipe, yeah, it kind of worked. But again, it can't be that difficult with the F1. I mean, you just move the pipe, right? I mean, you know how wide the cars are, so move the pipe,
Mm,
and that is just bang. You can't fail that. But apparently they did, because during the race they had a count of the track limits, and then there was a protest and they had to recount, and they realized, oh yeah, we made a mistake. Oh, this is the exact count. And that struck me as really, really weird, because either you have a sensor which works and you don't need to rewatch all the race and recount all of them, or you have a system which
mm,
doesn't work, which seems to be the case, right?
right.
So I don't know. It's
Okay.
funny.
So, a couple of things. Firstly, it's welcome to James. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you, and thank you for your comment. Please remember to like the channel and everything else that goes along with subscribing and all that rubbish. Okay, so sorry, I
Yeah.
may be a little bit like. Anyway, let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so track limits. That was the thing we were kind of. I'm trying to focus on for the moment,
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the past, like they've had curbs which destroy suspension. They've had sausages,
Yeah.
which we're going to get. Lucky has put up a video which we're going to watch in a second. I hope.
I hope, yeah,
And
that'd be
then
great.
yeah, and then and so this has been at least one of the solutions. So this is. Oh, sorry. Let me just do that. Do this. I'm going to try and do this. Share it. Audio. Share. Is that up there? Yeah, that's up there. Okay, so we'll just watch this for a moment.
This is why I object to these sausage curbs. And obviously, this is just my opinion. But if you watch some of these,
can
accidents,
show you what happened to Alex Peroni. Oh my goodness me! That is a
the hand is absolutely horrendous.
horrific sight.
If he'd been heading slightly more towards the trees there, he was over that fence.
To Alex Peroni. Oh my goodness me!
Yeah.
But let it play a bit more. There's some more accidents.
Okay,
along a
so
similar vein.
that was one sausage curb on the outside, and we'll see. We'll see. I have no idea what's there because I haven't obviously seen this. Formula region. Oh, Monza. Okay. Problem with sausage curbs. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I do remember this one. Bang, and then bish.
You know, we try
Look
to
at
clean
that.
up.
How many other people should have
Yeah.
had serious accidents with that?
Okay, so well, first of all, hold on a second with that last one, because I think one of the problem with the last one was the fact that the really young drivers, and it just took the curb, full speed. Nobody does that if you're a professional, but after they got in the middle of the road, there is this other guy which goes outside in the gravel and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting. In the gravel, nothing happens. Also,
Yeah.
notice it's not gravel. It's actually more like sand, isn't it?
Yes, I mean you got to have a specific size, and I mean again, I don't want to pine too much on that, but I have had some quite some experience about that. I remember that a couple of years we had a race in, I think it was in Spain, I think it was Germany or whatever, that we had the track guys just take away all the gravel. I'm talking about motorcycles, and replace it with something a little bit smaller, because they put gravel the size of a feet, and
Yeah.
that is dangerous for motorcycles. I get it, that is dangerous for motorcycles. So we said, you got to put something a little bit smaller, which is fit for whatever the fuck you're racing, right now, which were motorcycles. So again, you got to think things ahead, but it is possible. I mean, it's feasible.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe that there's a certain way that the gravel has to be ploughed.
Well,
If you notice, it's got these ridges on it rather than just it's dead flat, and that is
it's more the size of the pebbles.
Yeah,
Than
in terms of the danger level.
Yeah.
For sure.
okay.
Okay. So there's a bit of both there. Also, that wasn't really sausage curbs in that second one. That was more. That was more to
no,
do.
he did. He launched off the end of the sausage curb.
Well,
that's what put him off.
Right. So what I'm saying is, the reason he flew up in the air was coming back onto the track.
Yeah.
Not going off the track. Okay. So like if they'd had some decent.
Well, drivers go off the track. I mean,
they do, but they don't necessarily have to drive straight back on.
Right.
At full speed. Okay?
Well, no, they
don't.
But in this case,
over the deterrents put down there, so to stop them driving on at full speed, right? But of course, it's such a competitive sport. We're talking F2 here, aren't we?
Yeah.
And they're all trying to get to F1, and they want to be. Any place is important, so the stakes are very, very high. So they're prepared to risk their lives to do this. And that's the nature of motorsport, right? At this level. Go ahead, Lucky.
No, but I'm just continue with the video if you want.
Okay. Yeah. We'll do.
Look at some more incidents.
Okay, so here we go. W series. Oh yeah, this one was. Oof. Okay, so these are inexperienced drivers, but in cars which are just too fast for them. F2 race again. Okay, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, right in the background there.
In the background.
Top left.
Yeah. Okay. Again, F2. Again, that just reckless driving there. Absolutely reckless driving causing that, not the sausage curb.
I mean that is a curb. You know, it's
Actually,
not
in that one, it probably did more good than bad because it launched him up in the air rather into the side of the car.
Well, okay, but you know, I mean, you can't avoid that. You know, the reason he jumped was because he took the curb the wrong way. The curb is sloped in from the inside of the track to the outside, and if you take it from the other way around, like he did, is like a step. You know, so I mean,
okay. So look at that. Just drives him straight off the track.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's just driver error.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just reckless driving. That guy may as well be signed to Red Bull next year, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on.
Okay, this is weird because I don't
This
remember
one's
a curb there.
Well, this isn't so much as the curb, but
yeah, it just drove into somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Boosh. She survived.
That was a horrendous accident.
Yeah, it really was.
Horrendous accident.
I think it was brake failure as well.
Yeah, there was something weird happened. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just emphasizing my point about Red Bull.
Right.
Did I hear a cat there somewhere? Meow.
Maybe. Round the outside, Max. Don't worry about driving off track.
Yeah. Okay, so this is not a curb. That is the wheel. You can't take away the wheels.
Yeah. Parking ticket. Did he get a parking ticket for that? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't unsportsmanlike conduct anyway.
Wow. I mean, that one is definitely curb related because he lost it going in regardless of what happens.
Yeah,
but
again,
yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, because you're going to say the same thing I'm going to say. So
yeah, but again, you know, what are we doing? This was the effort to try and deter people from racing all over these curbs and making a mockery of the circuit. Remember why we had to put sausage curbs in? Why did we put sausage curbs in? Because the drivers found it too dangerous, right, to have either gravel or no concrete. So,
and it is. It actually is. You know, it's something that you need to. You know, but and also, I mean, the last one is just like the one that we saw in the British one. I mean, he took the curb the wrong way, so he just got the step, and he just flew over it. It's just Anyway.
Yeah. So track limits. I mean,
I don't think sausage curbs are the answer, to be quite honest.
Well, we know they're not. We know they're not the answer. That's why they were put in, used, and taken away again.
Yeah.
Because clearly, I mean, when we went away from sausage curb, the first other solution was to put curbs in which had more what do they call nodules? What am I talking about here?
Mm-hmm.
And they broke the car's suspensions.
Yeah.
Basically, over the race of a lap, the suspensions turned out not to be strong enough to. Hello, good to see you. Good to see you, Gur. Thank you so much for coming in. What did you say? Full speed D's nuts. Absolutely. Sausage carve. Curve, yes. Don't worry, Gur. We'll explain it to you another time. No IRL safety car again in the sprint race and the regular race. We need more sausage curbs. Just place them randomly.
Yeah, in the middle of the road. Just put it in the middle of the track.
Just have jumps. Why not?
They're called speed bumps. Just put them.
Bob's thinking out of the box there. I like it.
So
hello, John.
Thank you.
Two things. Hang on. Thank you, John.
Hey, John.
Thank you so much.
Hey.
It's good to see you, bud. Good to
so
see you.
That two things. I mean, this is a dangerous sport. First of all.
Yeah.
Okay. I know it sounds. Everybody says that, but I think it's way more important to say now, especially after what happened on Saturday with the 18-year-old guy dying in Spa because of the rain. So that was tragic. But it's a dangerous sport, first of all.
That's,
Yeah.
And the
that was
second thing is
Delano's
that
plan to talk,
you
by the way.
can't solve the problem by putting tarmac at the end of the track and putting sensor and say, oh, you're too, because listen, if you put tarmac outside of the corner, the only thing that you will achieve is that all the drivers, because that's in their nature, they will try to make that corner faster because they risk less. What happens if you go outside? I mean, nothing. You just you're really speed, and then you're back on the track. If you put gravel, that's gonna stop you. They're gonna approach the corner in a different way, and if you make a mistake, you're fucked. And if you're fucked, you lose the points, everybody gets mad at you, and blah blah blah, and that happens. But it's the nature of the sport. It's it's not something you can solve. I mean, the what is the name of the track in France? Is it Manicourt? That
No,
y-
no,
y-
Castellet or
oh,
something.
Le Castellet. I mean,
It's got a new name. Yeah.
yeah, which is a fucking nightmare.
Mm.
Basically there's no gravel. It's all stripes and all the thing. You can't figure out what the fuck the track is.
That's
Yeah,
horrendous track.
it is horrendous. It's basically a parking lot in IKEA, and they put some stripes, and you race over there.
Do,
I
do you
mean,
know
if
what?
you want, yeah.
Do you know what the color changes are for?
Yes, there's sand in that paint, and the
Well, no,
sand is
it's
increasing in grip. So
well,
it's,
yeah, the surface has
supposed
an
to
increasing grip. Yeah, that's
it's
right.
supposed to slow the cars down. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sand in the paint. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, it's like the run ups to pedestrian crossings and stuff.
That track, of course, owned by Bernie Ecclestone,
Yes.
and he used to use it for safety improvements in Formula One circuits. So allegedly, that is the most safe you can get a track,
Oh yeah.
which it probably is. But
It probably
unfortunately,
it probably is. No, you're right.
Yeah.
It probably is.
so
You don't know where the fucking track's going, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
safe.
you can make up your own track every lap. That's the rationale behind
well,
it.
that's what doesn't help is they have so many different track layouts.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be fine if they just had one track and painted everything else green.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be fine, right?
Yeah.
But no, of course not. No, I mean,
I
look,
think that plays as something like 15 lap records. Depending on where the configuration is.
the
Yeah.
configuration. Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me. Look, this is the problem. As far as I'm concerned, I have the evilest laugh. No, but look, this is the problem with it. Look, either you make it such a deterrent that the drivers are not going to use it, in which case it's dangerous.
Mhm.
If they do, right? That's the point of a deterrent, to stop them driving on it. And if the only way to do that is to make it dangerous, so they're not going to want to do it. And of course, this is Formula One, so of course they are going to drive on it if they possibly can. So this is the only solution. The real problem here is not that the idea of track limits is such a difficult thing to get your head around, right? The drivers, as I say, when they were wrecking their cars, they always managed to get within the track limits for some reason. So it's not that they can't do it. The problem is that if somebody else is doing it, they have to do it, and this is a war of kind of explosion, really. If my opponent is doing something, then I need to do it as well, because the consequences of not doing it are so high. This is, of course, an extremely expensive sport, and they will get fired if they don't win. So
Right.
there's big costs for them not doing it. So
sorry,
hang on a minute. I've got to make the point.
Yeah.
So the real problem here, or the real solution, shall we say here, is that the FIA get their shit together, work on a system which is enforceable quickly, accurately, and penalties can be given out lap by lap as they happen. Not have some guy at a corner with some binoculars reporting to see if somebody went off, then telling a guy who then reports it back to another guy who then sends it off for video checking to some like guys that are not even at the circuit, waiting for them to return and come back and say yes, he was or he was not. It's the FIA again. They want to have rules, but they don't want to enforce them. That was what happened after the race. They thought they got away with it until Aston Martin decided to appeal what was clearly going on. Other people, as I was noticing, and the reason I put Lando Norris's face in the thumbnail was because he actually clearly did have more than 4 rule breaks of track limits. Okay, but they chose to ignore some of them, either because he didn't gain an advantage, or because he went off and in 2 corners, 9 and 10, and they were only counting that as 1. So again, it's not enforced properly either way. The system they have to try and enforce it is ad hoc and is very on the fly, and they're just not taking this seriously. So if they want to have these cast iron rules, they need to come up with some cast iron ways to enforce it. Go ahead, Fabio.
I want to add fuel to your argument by saying a couple of things. First of all, they can't say that the FIA wants to make circuits safer, by not putting gravel and all that shit, because that is simply not true. They have some tracks that they have got to race on because there is a lot of money on it. If that were true, they would not be racing in Monte Carlo. First of all, that first circuit that pops in my mind, and then there would be Baku and all the others, but still the race there. So that is not a good argument. The other thing, and again, a little bit more fuel to your argument, is that they say they got what we talked about, those sensors, which apparently, depending on where you count, when you actually watch them, they give you a result or they give you a different result. So again, if they stop talking so much and maybe putting some more money into something that it actually work, because they would have something which at least it's consistent. To me, it begged a belief, the fact that you end the race and during the race you have those data coming in your control room, say, okay, this guy went out, this guy went out, this guy went out, and then somebody protests and they got to rewatch all the race and you got a different count. That doesn't make any fucking sense at all to me.
Yep, absolutely agreed. Bob says, how about fresh paint on the outside of corner 10? If you get your tyres painted, then you have to change them. I love it. But just to put this in perspective, if this is an engineering problem, isn't it? There is a problem here. We need a solution. These are the limitations. What's the solution? Now, if only there was some way of getting many highly paid engineers to look at this problem. If we could find a pool of very highly paid engineers, if there was some way, a miracle way, of getting some engineers, which are probably the most highly paid engineers on the planet, to look at this problem and coming up with a solution, where could we possibly find engineers of that kind of quality?
I can give them, the solution for free if they ask me. So,
well, I think Bob did as well. Like, just literally a little channel of wet paint would do it. You get paint on your tires. You've gone too far. Bang!
Yeah,
there you go.
The wet paint. You gotta have some people between laps, repainting that all of a sudden. So yeah,
no. You just have a little channel. Just have a channel there, right? Like a 1-inch channel. And you put paint in it, and you keep refilling the paint from the outside. It'll flow down there, no problem. Honestly, it's not beyond the wit, is it? Really? And like you said, the tire thing, the little tire. Yeah, go ahead.
No. I mean, again, I can think about the solution where not only it is bulletproof, you can also have a system where you have like a big light which is popping up, and you can actually the driver
Yeah.
can actually see when it goes out. I can do that for free if they ask me. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
here, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I had another genius idea
Mhm.
because it's in Austria. What you could have is like on the mountainside, you could have somebody, two
Oh
guys,
no. No.
two guys. One's a spotter with a pair of binoculars. The other's a sniper. And every time the guy goes over, he gets shot at by the sniper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Look, we're at 50 minutes, so I'm
See,
going to
I've
call
got a
it a day.
solution. I've got the solution.
He's got a solution,
I've
everybody.
got the solution. Without
Yeah.
any of
There you
this
go.
stuff. Here's the solution. Don't drive off the fucking track.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
Done. You don't get a penalty if you don't drive off the track.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Granted, that is definitely the case. Definitely the case.
Remember, guys, in 2 weeks or a week, whenever the next race is, nobody's going to give a shit about track limits at the Red Bull Ring.
That is some of the problem. Is that we go away for a year and everybody forgets about it, and then we come back again, and all of a sudden it's a problem again.
Yeah.
And of course, they can't for wit for money to change it. Like they could, right? If the bikes were the problem, of course, they could
Yeah.
easily do this, right? Easily they could do this. They could just like put a sand gravel on the outside of the curb, right down. They could build a little thing on the bridge of the curb that already exists. They could put sand there, absolutely fine. Just have about 10 feet of sand, and then just sweep it away again.
They race in Misano, they race in Monza, and they race in Mugello. Guess what is outside those tracks? Gravel.
Is it gravel?
Yes.
I thought it would be. Yeah.
The-
Again, it's nonsense, isn't it? It's just that Red Bull don't want to do it for whatever reason.
In the second run in qualifying, I believe Perez did 3 laps and had 3 laps disallowed. Did anybody say poor Perez? Poor Perez! It's all the bike's fault. It's somebody else's fault. No.
Oh,
it was his
fuck
fault.
Perez!
He drove off the track. Simple as that.
Fuck Perez! Come on, really? I mean, you can't say poor and Perez in the same sentence.
No, that's what I'm saying. Nobody would say
anybody.
that. Nobody would say poor Perez. Nobody did because it was his own fault. It wasn't somebody else's fault. It wasn't the bike's fault. It was his fault because he went over the track limits. But by the way, listen, have you ever considered a career as FIA president?
One more thing before we finish.
We're not finishing. We're not finishing. I'm just going to read something.
No. Before
first.
going to.
No, I'm just going to read this chat first because it's the chat first.
Yeah.
I agree with Lucky. The track limits is good for superb drivers like Verstappen. They profit, but others like Hamilton get punished. Carry on.
Talking about Verstappen and Lewis, and talking about consistency and marshals and whatever the fuck they put on the track right now. Because again, I have no idea who they hire to watch the race. I really don't know. I hope that I think there's some janitors or whatever. I don't know. I hope there are some janitors. There was something which happened in the qualifying with Verstappen clearly impeding Lewis Hamilton on his outlap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And apparently nobody saw it. And by nobody, I mean no steward saw it. All the rest of the world saw it because it was on air and there were videos everywhere. But again, nobody saw it. So yeah, thank you, Mercedes. Thank you, Red Bull. This all goes back to Abu Dhabi, and I will still, twist the knife.
You won't let it lie, will you, Fabio?
No. Thank you, Toto Wolff. Thank you, Red Bull. And Mazzi, I think, is laughing his ass off right now. See, you thought that was the solution. Now, fuck you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so thank you very much. We are actually, I haven't forgotten this. I haven't forgotten, Lucky, so don't panic. Next week, it's 7th of July to the 9th of July. So we got 6 days. So that's next weekend. for the British Grand Prix. Always very exciting, and generally not going to be worried about track limits there. Although there is one corner at the end of Stowe, I think,
Yeah.
where sometimes it gets like Verstappen overtook on the outside once, but that happened. But other than that, we'll be looking forward to that, of course, next week. So now we're over to our last section of the show, which, as always, is myth and quiz. Myth and quiz. I've got a little ditty here which I've recorded for it. Myth and quiz, quiz and myth. What's it going to be? It's going to be a myth or a quiz. There we go. Thank you.
Wow.
I can
I
see
know,
you put a
I
lot of effort into that.
I did put a lot of effort into that. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just flabbergasted.
Yeah. I've recorded an orchestra, but you couldn't hear them in the
Oh,
background.
yeah.
Okay, Lucky. What do you have for us this week?
Okay.
Oh, thank goodness! I thought you were going to say nothing for a minute.
Yeah. Well, you got the intro. It's got to have something.
Okay. We'll start with the trivia. There's been, I think, 4 women drivers in Formula One. Who was the only one to score points in a World Championship race?
Yeah, I missed the first part of the question. We have
There's
4
been
what?
4
women.
women.
Oh,
Women in Formula One. Only one of them scored points in
Yes,
World Championship
I
races.
know.
Who was it?
I can't remember the name. I can tell you she didn't score a point. She scored half a point. She was an Italian driver, and eventually, in about a week or two, the name will pop up in my head. But I know exactly who she is.
Did you date her?
No. Nice lady, a brunette.
Yes, I remember her name. Gina, something.
No. Yeah, I don't know. The moment you say the name, I'll say, yeah, of course she is. But she scored half a point.
I thought she was French, but there we go.
No, Italian.
Difficult to tell when you're from my angle.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're in a difficult situation here because he knows exactly who it is, but he doesn't know her name.
I think
So
that's
maybe
if she scored half.
Okay, so just tell me the not the family name. Just tell me the name.
What, the first name?
Yeah,
Her first name is Leela.
What?
Leela.
Yeah.
Cartonelli.
I think you're pronouncing.
I'm
really
gonna guess.
Weird.
I'm gonna guess. Let me have a couple of guesses first.
Okay.
Cartonella. Rosetti Altarossa.
No. I can't remember the name. I mean, if you don't want to give me the points, it's fine. I mean, I know exactly who she is.
Bub's got it. I think Bub's got it.
No, he hasn't.
No. Oh, fuck. I can't remember the name.
Okay.
No. Okay, got it. So it's not
Lila.
Lila, you idiot. It's Lella.
No, for fuck's sake.
And it's Lella Lombardi. So
Lombardi. There you go. Yes.
Yeah. And my hands are here, so I didn't Google that.
Yeah, I think Fabio's got it. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll give you the point for that one. Yes, absolutely. I mean, you had it from the start, but
what was she on a Toleman?
No, she was in. Oh God, she was in a Williams,
March,
and a March, and something else. I can't remember what the other one was.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Lella Lombardi, and she was cute too. Yeah.
March. Well, yeah, she was, but unfortunately, she was a lesbian, which was a bit of a shame.
You say unfortunately.
She's a lesbian. Jesus Christ.
What are you talking about?
Really?
Hang on. What do you mean, unfortunately? They had video cameras back then.
Anyway, poor. How do you pronounce her name? Sorry.
Hang on, before you go, that reminds me of a quick joke. My lesbian friend, my best lesbian friend, said to me, "What do you want for your birthday?" And I said, "Oh, a watch." Go on.
Oh,
Okay.
that's really good. That's really subtle. I got it the first time. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
How do you actually pronounce her first name, Fabio?
Lella.
Leila.
It's
Okay.
it's Lella, Lella, and it's probably a short for Gabriella or Antonella or
Okay.
whatever.
I knew it began with G. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Leila died at the age of 50 of breast cancer, which is a real shame. However, there's a statue of her in our hometown in Italy. So there we go.
There you go.
Okay.
That's put the standings a bit closer together. 7 to Fabio. Simon's still slightly ahead with 1. Sorry, with 7. With 8 even.
8
With 8.
even.
8.
Okay.
8.
This is professionally done, everybody.
Yeah, and I think you should get a point because you just disparaged, lesbians and all that stuff. So yeah,
There's nothing disparaging about it. Nothing.
well, no, he
disparaging
did,
about it.
not you. He
No, I-
did.
Oh, did he? I
Yeah,
missed that.
yeah.
Okay, never mind.
I think
Anyway, there we go.
lesbians
Thank
at
you
all.
very much. Sorry, go ahead.
I deny that accusation of disparaging.
Well, and demonetized.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that's coming from an Italian, so it must be
Yes.
bad.
It isn't
it's
actually. We love
unfortunate
lesbians.
It's unfortunate for us gentlemen. However, it's not unfortunate for ladies.
There we go. There we go. Okay, look, thank you very much. We will see everybody in a week's time when we're all looking forward to the British Grand Prix. Lots more upgrades to come for the British Grand Prix. So everything should be close. Who knows whether Red Bull will win?
Remember the
Off.
little ditty you made. Remember the ditty you made? How did
Yes,
it go again?
of course I do.
Yeah, how did it go again?
Well, we'll see next week, won't we?
Well, no,
Okay.
no, tell me now. Tell me now how it went.
No, I'm not going to tell you now how it went, obviously, because otherwise we'll have to do another. Have you got another question for us?
Well, if I seem to recall the ditty was trivia and myth.
Yes, myth. Is it a quiz? Is it a quiz or is it a myth?
Well, we had the
Myth
trivia,
or quiz?
which was the Leila Lombardi question, and
Yes.
I was going to do some myth.
Oh, you are? Okay, I didn't realise we hadn't finished. I thought you were wrapping up, so I was helping you. Okay, so there's
amateurs here.
funny joke. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
we're not going.
to
I
fuck
forgot
him
what
with it.
I forgot what the myth is now.
Oh, go, yeah.
There you go.
right.
We're gonna
You
say
never had
save
one.
for next one. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, the myth is,
The
was
myth,
there
the
a
myth
myth?
is professionalism in this show.
Yeah.
Too true.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
look, thank you very much then.
Oh, we're not going to do myth. You don't want to do myth.
You do have one. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. Like, Jesus Christ, I spent all week slaving over a hot internet to bring you
I
a
mean,
myth.
you got the memory of Doris from Finding Nemo. I mean, you just say you forgot it, then you remember it, and in 2 minutes you're gonna forget it again. So come on.
Okay,
There's nothing
here we
wrong
go.
with my memory. Who are
Okay,
you?
I've got another intro for the myth if you want to hear that one.
Okay, yeah, that would be brilliant.
Okay, it's a myth. It's a myth. What is it now? It's the myth.
It's the myth.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
This week's myth is going to be slightly different because we're going to get the opinion of my fellow hosts, and we'll delve into perhaps the reason for this myth. Okay. Now this follows on from what Fabio was talking about last week when we saw when we discussed the death of Gilles Villeneuve and the Ferrari.
Yeah.
Now, from a non-Italian perspective, and Simos will have the same perspective for a couple of different reasons. Enzo Ferrari got the reputation of caring more about cars than drivers. Is that true?
No, it's bullshit.
Why do you think that was the case? Because it never seemed to have left him, and even today, there is this sort of.
So I can tell you two reasons why it's bullshit.
I
Well,
think I have one reason.
before you do, let me give you two
Yeah.
reasons why
Okay.
it's not bullshit.
Okay. Carry on.
Allegedly, because I think it is bullshit as well, of course.
Hmm.
But he had this uh, advanced engineering thinking that was always going on, like another one, like Chapman, where he wanted his cars to be as fast as possible and as competitive as possible. So
Yeah.
he used to use, and design the cars to be as light as possible, as strong as possible, and as fast as possible. And this meant using advanced materials in the case of and advanced designs. And in this case, it meant cutting down on weight to the absolute maximum. So he would use metals and aluminium and amalgamates, which of course were not as strong as the previous generation's designs. Not that they weren't as strong, but he felt that the design would increase the strength, just the same way Chapman decided to use the gearbox as part of the chassis, which he was criticised for at the time, thinking that the cars wouldn't be as strong. Of course, it was later proven to be that yes, that was the case. They weren't as strong, but they were a lot faster. And of course, Clark and several others were injured in crashes due to this particular habit. So, like with Chapman, Ferraris were designed with advanced composite materials, which generally at the time weren't able to be engineered to the same higher standards as the previous materials. That's why several designers got this reputation. Go ahead, Fabio.
Um, okay, so I'll try to keep it super short because I understand this is something that we could have a whole show about.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So I'll keep it really brief. First of all, I'll tell you why I think it's bullshit. Enzo Ferrari, of course, he cared about his cars because that was his legacy. He suffered like nobody did when Gilles Villeneuve died. He considered him a son. He always had a special relationship with drivers. He was always looking for the best driver for his car, and he was also, I mean, he was trying to get the best car for his drivers. So he knew that he had a legacy to carry on, but it was really, really, he really understood the fact that it was, the drivers which were running the cars. Also, people tend to forget that Ferrari started as a driver, so he knew exactly what was going on in those cars. Uh, one small thing about what Simon says, and and again, I don't want to start, a discussion because there would not be too much time. I just want to say a couple of things. I understand Simon's point of view. I do, I really do. um I think that what Simon says, it's, well, I wouldn't say skewed, but it's influenced. Let me say that, by what happened in the 80s and the 90s, especially, at the time that Gilles Villeneuve died. Which, by the way, it's a good segue because the legend really started the 1st of July. That was the Dijon duel with Rene Arnoux. It was the 1st of July of, I can't remember the year. But that all thing started, especially on the British press. The fact that, that Ferraris were dangerous and all that stuff at the time, especially the head engineer was Mauro Forghieri, which we talked about it, extensively when he died. I think he was one of the best free uh, engineers all around, if not the best ever. That is my opinion. So at the time in Ferrari, they had a gap that they tried to fill, and the problem was that they did not have, especially in that period, they did not have the expertise that some of the teams, especially from the UK, had. And this is why I said it's more a British thing, because the British press really pushed that angle, and Ferrari was really suffering about that stuff. Uh, Ferrari lacked the expertise in in aluminium honeycomb, and they were still using like bird cage kinda, frames, and they were riveted with aluminum. So that was a different approach. That it is true what Simon says. It is on paper less. It has less structural integrity. The thing is that when you cross those sections, you can have an overall less structural integrity, but what you're really looking into is the rigidity in some directions. And I can guarantee you that depending on how you build that stuff, it can be as efficient as an aluminum honeycomb, that which is what the especially the British teams were using. So it was a little bit of a political move, and I get it, but there is a lot to unpack on that kind of approach.
Yeah, I just want to say it was from the 60s, I think. That's when it
Yeah,
really
yeah,
started.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
not just that. I think you're absolutely right. But also, um, Lotus was accused of exactly the same thing,
Yes,
designing their cars to be too close to
yeah,
the structural limit, basically.
yes,
And so I think when success was held by particular teams which weren't French, then the same criticism was usually
yes,
labelled too
yes.
quickly, in my opinion, at some of these teams. And Ferrari
Right.
definitely suffered from that. There were some spectacular crashes where the cars, were destroyed. Both Lotuses, Williams as well, of course. Piers, can't remember his name right now off the top of my
Here's
head.
courage.
Yeah,
Thank
Ronnie
you. Yeah.
Peterson. Yeah, but in that same year,
And
Didier
Ferraris as well.
Pironi. Yes,
And
yes,
and again, but if you go back just a wee while before that, of course, all the cars were crashing like that. So there was no
yeah,
surprise that had been happening in Formula One for a long time, and it was more the question of unsuccessful teams accusing successful teams in order to try and get some kind of at least press advantage anyway,
yeah.
and pressure from the FIA downwards. So there you go. Okay, so back to you, Lucky.
Okay, well, I agree with both of you. I think perhaps one of the reasons that there was a bad image painted around Ferrari was, or certainly in this country rather, would have been the '76 season, where the Ferrari guys were the bad guys and the British darling James Hunt was up against it. And the media here in the UK certainly sided with Hunt and
Yeah.
tried to paint a bad light for Ferrari. But also, we had the accident in '76 with Lauda. And for some reason, and I don't know why this happened to Ferrari himself, because it was the case with a lot of teams. There was this sort of bandwagon that everybody jumped on that said, "Oh, poor Niki Lauda, he's had a crash, and now Ferrari's abandoned him to his fate, and they've got who was it that came in instead? Was it Regazzoni?
Okay, that is again, it's another thing which it's really crazy, because when
Yeah.
Lauda had the
I
accident.
absolutely agree with you.
Lauda had the accident, and Ferrari decided to put another driver, which was Mario Andretti in Monza. And Lauda showed up, right? And okay, so first of all, they made him race anyway. They put 3 cars on the circuit anyway. And the reason they didn't want Lauda to race was because Lauda was in a state. I mean, in Monza, he stopped because he couldn't drive.
Yeah.
He had the helmet, and when he took off the helmet, and this is something that Mauro Forghieri remembered really vividly. He took off the helmet and he took off the balaclava. They couldn't get the balaclava off because it was sticking to his flesh.
Yeah.
The wounds were still open, so I think that Ferrari had some kind of reason to say, well, you better not be driving. And actually, one of the things that Ferrari said at the time was, that he thinks that one of the reasons why he lost the championship, Lauda lost the championship that year, was because he wanted to go back racing too early.
Yeah.
That thing would happen but he felt betrayed or whatever the fuck. I mean, and he wasn't really understanding the state he was in. He wants to race. They gave him the car, and after I can't remember how many laps, he just gets back because he can't drive. So I mean, Ferrari was right in trying to find a replacement for him, but he just felt betrayed, and I mean, they made a movie out of it. So yeah,
Well,
but
yeah, a bad movie, right?
Well,
yeah,
it certainly did seem to paint the Ferrari as the bad guy in that episode. But here's another thing that you probably both remember is the movie Grand Prix with James
Yeah.
Garner.
Oh, of
Uh-huh.
course.
Yeah.
If you remember in that film, the Ferrari character, who wasn't
Yeah.
named Ferrari, was painted as the real bad guy who was pressurizing the 3 times champion and making his life a misery. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
No.
No, that's just storytelling by Hollywood,
Yeah.
not understanding Formula One.
Well,
As always, they don't get it, and they're going to make a movie out of it. Someone's got to be the bad guy. Who's it going to be? Of course, it's the Italians. They were the fascists. So, yeah, of course it is.
and I mean, the Colin
And
Chapman pointed out.
keep in mind, Lucky, at the time, Ferrari was the team to beat.
Mhm.
The same way that
Yeah.
Mercedes was, like for 10 years, and now it's Red Bull. So now Red Bull is not is over the budget cap, and Mercedes before, they had some really fishy things going on. I mean, if you're racing and winning, of course you're gonna be the bad guy,
Yeah.
because nobody's gonna say, yeah, you know what, my car is really worse than their car, and my drivers are pussies. And nobody's gonna say that, right? There's gonna be some reason. Oh, they're cheating. They make dangerous cars. I mean, yeah, the guy is a fucking fascist. They try to blackmail. They're blackmailing the tire manufacturers so they won't get the tires on the car. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just happens, So
yeah. Pirelli happened to get the the single manufacturer only.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Colin Chapman, if you remember the day that Jim Clark died at Hockenheim, he got on a plane and fucked off back to England and basically left Graham Hill to pick up the pieces. And Chapman and Clark were supposed to be best of friends.
Well, I think they were, but that's just more Chapman could never get his head round losing drivers. I mean, that was his weakness.
Nobody complained about Colin Chapman doing that, but yet,
well, everybody knew what he was like. That wasn't the first time he'd just run away from one of his drivers dying, and he blamed himself. Like that was clear when the cars failed. But it never stopped him designing the car to be right on the limit of structural adhesion,
Jochen went before he.
I mean, Colin Chapman. They had to stop Colin Chapman because he was putting when they put in the wings, the rear wings at the beginning. He was putting the rear wings, and they were fixed to the calipers outside the wheels.
Yeah,
it is the most unsturdy piece of the car you can think of, but you needed to do that because so that the wing was wider. So what is the widest piece you can put? Yeah, just above the brake calipers. And the FIA had to step in and say, "Are you fucking stupid or what?" Because,
well, not just that as well. It's because that's for integrity, for getting the most efficiency out of the wing. Right, you want it to be on the outside of the suspension, not on the actual body of the car itself.
Right. So I mean,
because you want it to be where the wheels touch the road, just for stability. So engineering-wise, that was how it happened. Also, it was Chapman that encouraged. Who was the driver that died at Monza?
Peterson. Ronnie Peterson?
Yes, yeah, Peterson. So it was
Oh, but,
Chapman that said, right, we're going to take the wings off, and Peterson
Yeah.
didn't want to take the wing off.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I don't know, it's sketchy going around there already," and he went, "No, look, we need to keep up with the Ferraris, so we're taking the wing off." And of course, that's when the tragedy struck.
Yeah.
before
Is it,
Jochen
and I
Rindt died,
believe is that the only driver to have won a championship posthumously?
No,
that was
that one.
Jochen
No,
Rindt.
no. Okay,
That
no,
was
that
Jochen
wasn't
Rindt
Ronnie
you're talking
Peterson.
about.
That was Jochen
Jochen
Rindt, I
Rindt.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Jochen Rindt actually wrote to Chapman saying that he would not continue to race with Lotus the following year if Chapman didn't start building a car that was more driver safety oriented.
Yeah. And Jochen Rindt was the one which won the championship. Jack
Yeah.
Hicks was trying to win the championship, and at the end of the championship, Jack Hicks said, well, he didn't say I'm happy to having lost it, but he said, I think that Jochen Rindt deserved it anyway. So yeah, kudos to Jack Hicks. Yeah, but yeah, I mean those were the times. So I mean, what the fuck are you gonna do? So.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we
thank
could probably safely say that the myth is busted. Ferrari wasn't the dark figure that people have made him out to be.
No.
Certainly not.
There we go. We'll put the world to rights then.
Thank you very much for that. And that has been Quiz and Myth, myth or quiz. Who knows? Is it a myth or a quiz? Thank you very much for that. Did you hear the orchestra that time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was in my head all the time.
Fantastic. Okay, look, thanks everybody. Just to say, back to Austria. After the thrill is gone, we're at Silverstone. And of course, these are just some of the drivers that took it to the limit. Thank you very much, everybody.